Hello guys, today we'll be doing some value studies of some portraits, and I'll be showing you my process for going through basic value study. So first of all, we're working with a square brush, and this allows us to make really crisp sharp edges, and that way it will make our painting look a lot less muddy. Alright, I'm working with a reference, but it is off the screen, but I'll make sure to put it in the video during editing. So usually I like to start with the darkest value, so I'll just go with black. And we're just gonna get the silhouette of the reference down. While you're doing this, make sure you keep in mind the proportions. Usually I like to use something like the eye or the nose to mark out where each landmark should be, but don't worry if it's not perfect. Usually I like to do these on one layer to keep things simple, as you just overlay and add more values as you go. Alright, we're almost done with the silhouette here. Let's go and fill it in. Alright, so we have our silhouette. Usually after finishing the initial silhouette, you can go and look at the negative space or look at the main edges just to check the accuracy of your silhouette. So I'm gonna do that right now and sharpen out the outmost areas. Keep in mind that you can also always use the eraser instead of adding. Sometimes you can erase and it'll create a nice sharp shape. Alright, I've gotten it to be pretty accurate now. So we're going to start with the second value. So usually I go from darkest, which is black, and then I just work my way up towards white. So I think I'll go with maybe 5 values. So the second one would be a pretty dark gray. Maybe this is a little bit too light. And now we're going to look for the main areas where this value shows up in our reference. You see, as we add more values, you can slowly carve out those shapes that you see in the reference. So you don't have to worry as much about getting those shapes right all the way at the start. Because as you add value, it'll slowly come to form. Looks like most of the dark gray on this painting is in the hair and the brow area. For those of you less confident about making a silhouette right off the bat, I would recommend doing a really quick sketch, because that can help keep the proportions looking right. But if you're more experienced, then go ahead and do the silhouette right away. Usually these studies are kind of hard to do without, the alpha lock and the clipping mask, but it also makes it a lot more fun because it's somewhat like a traditional painting. But it is frustrating when you have to repaint over it a bunch of times. Usually this step takes the longest, but that's okay. Because usually the first 20% of the painting determines how good the last 80% is. Okay, we're almost done with this value. So as you can see, most of this step was just looking at where the main shadows are and then making one big shape to block it out. Alright, there we go. On to the next value, so we just go up slightly on the value scale. So now we have somewhat of a cool gray. So let's figure out where the next darkest parts of the painting are. So I can see some of it is around the lip area. This whole cheek area in general is around that same tone. Another thing to keep in mind when doing value studies is that you have to be pretty patient. It's not going to look good for a long time, and it might not even look good at the end. But the point of it is to practice your skills for observation and just in general mapping out values. That way when you make a personal painting, you can see which parts are lightest, darkest, and you can create nice shifts to convey believable form. I started doing these value studies around somewhere last year at the same time, and I think they were the most important exercise in becoming, I would say, a decent painter. I forgot who I learned this from. I believe it was either Broken Draw or Athoro. Okay, I went ahead and jumped a little bit too far. Go back. Still looks pretty messy. I'm gonna try and redefine the hair a bit. I think I went over the wrong area. It's more black in this part. And when you're doing these value studies, don't just, it's good to just look at the color, or the darkness, the value, the pure value. You should always be taking note of where the main light source is actually coming from. So in this example, it'd be coming from to our left, but to the characters. Wait, let's see. So in the point of view of the character, it would be hitting them from the left, but from our point of view, it would be coming from here. Let's draw a little arrow, somewhat of the top left for us, and it hits from, I think, the top, because it darkens out around the cheek area. Alright, let's continue. Okay, let's define the nose a bit. It's a bit of a weird shape. Another thing I want to mention is that as you progress the painting, you will notice that it's going to be a lot less of pure black and pure white. That's because when we paint, we want to use those colors the least, so that it creates the most contrast when we do use them. So we only use them for the most bright and the most dark areas. I believe that's also called ambient occlusion. Took me a while to get that, but it's a really nice technique, or could you say it's like a technique? I'd say concept maybe. I think I put the eye a little bit too far to the right here. Maybe we can change it. Let's see. Yeah, this looks a lot more right. Yeah, so don't be afraid to change something in your painting, even if it's pretty far down the road, because changing it now will probably make it easier than changing it later, especially if you're working on one layer. Okay, we're on the third value, I believe. Maybe the fourth? I'm losing track. Okay, let's go and fill in this forehead area. Alright. Okay. Still looks pretty rough at this stage. Hey, one line. You just gotta hang in there. Oh, I think I neglected the mouth area a little bit. Let's redefine it with the black. I'll just make it mostly black for now. We can add those darker values later. Somewhat of a reverse, or like a trapezoid. Funky shape. Let's add some more black to the hair as well. I think it got lost. Okay, just a teensy bit. There we go. Maybe some for the ear as well. I see some. And then for that under chin area, a bit under the ear as well. Okay, so most of the shadows are done. So we're going to start moving to the mid-tones and the highlights, or the light areas. See, at this stage you can still tell that it's a person. We're gonna add some light now, and that's gonna take it to even better believability. Okay, here we go. So this is somewhat of a mid-tone. Let's take a look at the reference. So let's look for the areas where I forgot to add some of this down in the neck area. Yeah, I was saying we were going to look for areas where the light meets the shadow. So I see down here at the neck, under the ear, okay, and the chin as well. I believe there's a bit over here. tad bit over here. Make sure you're adjusting the brush size as well, because if you work too big or too small the whole time, it's gonna look a little bit funky. So make sure you switch between the big and the small brush, or just keep changing it to your needs. Gotta put some more black on this eye. I think I covered it earlier. Don't want to lose that shape. There we go. Let's make sure it's lined up with the other one too. I think it's slightly off. Yeah, let's fix it. Okay, we can start to see the eyes. That's good. The nose shape as well. Okay, let's go back to the mid-tone. Oh, this is the same color as the background. That's okay. That means we reached the halfway point. This whole area is somewhat of the same value. Add some up top. I feel like painting by value is like sort of like those coloring pages you got in elementary, where you color by the number. That's somewhat of how I see it. Except you have to figure out the number by yourself. So that makes it a little more fun. Okay, we're getting closer. Looks alright now. Chin area, some in this area. I won't lie, this reference is a little bit rough. The ones I did before this were a lot easier to tell where the shadows ended. Alright, let's hit the next value. Don't be afraid to take some time in between values to just carve out any excess shapes or excess that spilled outside of the silhouette, because you can get lost in the process sometimes. I think we're getting there. We're somewhere at the 30-minute mark, I believe. Not too bad. Usually I spend around 30 to 40 minutes on a value study. This one it's taking me longer because I'm explaining as I go, but that's okay. If you guys are still confused, I do recommend watching, I believe it was Broken Draw. He made a really good video about this. I believe it was titled something like, "This one painting exercise changed the way I paint," or something like that. Because I watched that video a while back and it really helped me. He basically explains how the two things you need for a really good, objectively good painting, or I don't think there's such thing as a good painting, it's just that there are ways to convey your message a lot better. That's all it is. But I believe it was form and value. Wait, no, not form and value, shape and value. I almost forgot myself. Because as long as you have the right shape of whatever something's supposed to be, you can pretty much tell, but it's not enough sometimes. So you need value to tell you how dark or light something is. And usually with those two things you can pretty much convey the form and believability of whatever you want. Pretty interesting. The square brush is also really awkward to use, but I do think it helps a lot though. It keeps all your lines really sharp. It really lets you create the hard edges you need. As you guys can see, the more values you add, the more believable whatever you're drawing is starting to look. So I think we're about at like 5 values now. You can start to tell that it's a person, like, and where exactly the light is hitting this person. Still pretty different from the reference, but that's okay. I like to think the point of a reference is not to copy exactly what it is, but to act as somewhat of a guide for you, a visual guide, like a visual foundation. So it doesn't always have to look the same. It can just help you learn. finally we can go in and block out all this space right here. It looked a bit funky because it was black. Well, in the reference, it was all a light area. Let's go in this nose area as well. Okay, let's fill in this whole section over here. That's obviously the light. And then let's work by adding one value at a time. This part's a bit complex. Let's go slow. Start with the most obvious shapes. So you can see this big chunk right here next to the nose. It's one big shape. Let's fill that in. Follow up with this bit under the eye. A bit more right here. Show the roundness near the cheekbones. Also adjust the value of the other right here. Sometimes you'll notice something's off about the placement of some landmark halfway through. Like I said earlier, just don't be afraid to change it. So I'm gonna do that right now. I think there's a bit of stuff here that I put in the wrong area. Something else to keep in mind is to try and progress the entire painting as a whole rather than try and do like render one section at a time. It'll make it feel a lot less daunting, even though you might be more inclined to try and do one at a time. That's something I used to do and it just felt more tedious. It felt more like it felt like a copying machine rather than actually going through a process that felt fun to me. Right. Let's fix this eyebrow area. This part's tough. Okay, get the black. Oop, wrong shape. Okay. This part's a bit confusing. It looks like there's like two eyebrows, but one is actually there's like two shadows. Can't say I understand it enough to tell you why they are two. But that's the cool thing about value studies. You don't have to understand everything to make it look believable. You can just work with the colors and the values and the darkness, and you can just tell. You can show what something is just by looking at the shape. Yeah, I'm getting lost in my own work right now. I feel like I'm missing a lot of values in certain areas. Like this whole chin area is supposed to be this value, but I completely forgot. Let's go in and fill it out. Carving out the shapes I see. Something I highly recommend for value studies is to pick a topic. Pick a subject that you like, or like you care about, or you find appealing to draw. Because usually if you don't, it's a bit tedious and it just feels kind of boring. But if you draw something you like, it's a lot less likely that you're gonna burn out or just not want to draw it. This one I saw on Jiangsu, I think. Jiangsu Art. I saw it on their page. I thought it was a really cool portrait, and I just wanted to make a mini master copy of it. So I like the way they rendered this. But yeah, make sure you keep in mind or draw things that interest you. Like if you, let's say you like a certain sport, or like let's say basketball, you can draw your favorite players and it'll make it a lot more fun. Okay, we're getting to the end stage here. Almost there. Getting to the eyes. For value studies, usually I leave the eyes for the last part because they're hard to progress with everything else. Like I said earlier, try and progress everything at the same time. But the eyes are really like delicate and really full of detail. It's hard to do that in the middle of your process. I kind of leave them for the end. But you can do whatever you want to do. Usually after you get the biggest shapes down, you can go in with like a smaller brush, or like you just change the size a bit, and you can just add these little more subtle changes, little subtle brush strokes to make it look more detailed, more cohesive. Oh, Looks like I forgot to add some stuff for this shirt. So let's take this value. I believe it's, yeah, the one that's closest to the lightest value that we have at the moment. Okay, it's starting to look pretty alright. Also, if you lost a color or you forgot, this sounds obvious, but if you lost a color, then don't be afraid to just use the color picker instead of just going back in there and trying to find it. It'll save you some time. As you can see, after we put in most of the big shapes, you can just go in and start carving out those tiny details, the tiny shapes that you see in the reference. So if you didn't notice, it's like the process is dark to light and big to small. It's usually a really calm, straightforward process that I recommend. Okay, the nose looks pretty good now. That was by far one of the hardest parts to render. But we still have the eyes. It's gonna be really tough. I'm gonna start carving out this general shape. And also for the other side. If you guys like these videos, please let me know. Usually I don't do them too often because I don't have the time to really sit down and explain. But I do find it calming. And if it helps somebody, of course, I'd love to keep doing them. I was thinking of doing somewhat of a series. Because I've been watching some... Like, I made playlists of videos from my favorite artists. Or like the teachers on YouTube. And I've been like binge watching and using them on my newest pieces. And I was thinking maybe I could make like these summary videos or in a nutshell videos. I can explain each fundamental that I studied. Maybe that'd be helpful. I'll give it a go. I'll keep them around like 10 minutes maybe. I thought that'd be a good use of not just watching them but reteaching them to you guys. Maybe I'll link the same playlist in this video as well. You guys can check it out. I try to watch like one per day ideally, but sometimes I do a couple if I have a lot of time. It's cool though, when you watch like a bunch of videos on the same topic, you'll notice that there's a lot of perspectives on the same thing, as well as some principles that show up every time. Like I was watching some about line art, and there were some things that just kept popping up. You can't ignore it. It's like one of them was like to create attractive lines. It's like you have to create really smooth, quick strokes rather than these chicken scratch. And I feel like almost every video mentioned that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, the value of the ear here needs some work. So let's go and fix that. I think it's because I neglected it the whole time. So let's look at the light. The big chunk of light. Let's try and capture that shape. 1, 2. Okay, we didn't capture it exactly. It's close enough. We can change it as we go. Nice. Okay. Let's get those precise shapes in. Fill in the second darker shape. Some on the side here. And even if you guys can't get the shape completely right, it's perfectly fine. So as you can see, if you zoom out, it still looks like a complete thing. Can't even notice that much unless you zoom in like this. And no one's gonna be doing this. Alright, the ears looking really good now. At least from my view. Hope it looks good for you guys too. Yeah, I won't over render it. It's not supposed to be the focal point. Yeah, looks good to me. Maybe a little bit more right here. There we go. Oops. Let's go and fix the hair as well. Okay, it looks like most of the hair is this value right here. Let's go and fill that in. Might have missed that earlier. And then the secondary value, somewhat of this color. Let's add a bit right here. I'll shrink the brush here to get a more precise shape. We're super close now. We just gotta do some fine tuning, and we have to add the last values, of course. Fix this bit. So he's frowning. I do not know if this is a character from a show or something. Looks like a villain. I'm gonna mess up the value here. I'll go and change that real quick. Yeah, this should be here. I don't know if you guys like to keep it rough, all the edges rough or not, but I find it a little bit satisfying. I know some people like to go in with the smudge or after to define some edges, but I think for a value study, I think usually just getting to this point is good enough for me. But it's still good practice to define edges. Pretty sure that's also one of the key essentials to creating a really compelling and like a painting that conveys the message really well. I feel like there's not enough talk about using hard and soft edges on our education platforms. I feel like I didn't know what it was for a long time. When I figured it out, it was like a game changer. Like, it seems so simple. It's like you smooth something out, it looks soft, and if you leave a hard edge, it looks hard. But no one really showed it outright, so I was like, I had to figure out myself. And I feel like I still don't understand it that much, but I know enough to make it work in my own paintings at least. Maybe I'll do a deep study on that when I have time. Oh man, we did not complete this area. This whole entire forehead area we neglected. But let's fill it in with the light value. The light gray value. We'll use that as the base. And then we'll add the lightest. We'll keep adding lighter values till we get to white. Okay, we were getting really close to what I would consider a finished value study. We're almost on the last value now. Of course, we still have to do the eyes, but luckily for us, that's pretty fun. I don't know if you guys love to draw eyes or not. I find them really, really fun to draw. It's like every element you add, it looks more real. Well, that's too bright. I think some of the values got convoluted over here. I think it still reads okay. Try and fix it up a bit. It's okay if you guys can't get the exact value down, as long as you follow the dark to light. Usually working with less value makes it a lot easier. So the less values you use, the easier it'll be, but the harder it'll be to convey or show whatever you're trying to draw. But it's good to do those easier ones before you jump into something like this. Okay, let's fix the nose a little bit. Okay, I'll try and leave that be. I feel like I could render that nose forever. Just too many values in one spot. Here we go. Let's go into the eye area. Take this gray. Some of it here. Try and make this quick. I feel like I've worked on this one for an hour now. Here I'm just filling in a bit of this light value I missed earlier for the hair. Get this. Okay, looks good to me. Does not look like the reference very much, and like I said in the beginning, it's perfectly fine. It might even be better because it's your own thing now. It kind of looks like Jeremy Wade, the guy from River Monsters. I don't know if you guys know who I'm talking about. Okay, just need to add some white up top, or maybe a bit more. This value. Shoot. I think I could have done better on this side. Looks a bit odd. As you can see in the reference, there's a lot less space between the nose and that side of the face. Sometimes it's really hard to end a painting like this because you keep seeing mistakes or just things you missed. You just gotta keep fixing them. But for yourself, always try and find like a point, some kind of reference point to where you feel like it's done for you. Usually for me, it's like when it starts looking real or looks rendered from a distance, that's when I stop. But like the landmarks are readable. So we're almost there because we haven't done the eyes yet. And the lips look okay. Could be better. Now that I say that, we just fix it up. should be darker by the lip right here. Okay, that made a big difference. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's go and close this out. Even keep adding the eye. Alright, like the ambient occlusion thing I mentioned earlier. Let's go and add that to the most bright areas on the reference. So it'd be like the forehead. Be very scarce with it. That way it pops. And you can go in and add some transition values in between if you feel like it's too bright compared to what is around. Like right here, you can see that I don't think I used this earlier, but I just looked at what the white was in between. So it was white and this color right here. So I just went and chose a color that's in between those two. So as you can see, I just took the color picker, went into here, went up slightly. As you can see, this color is in between white and that color I color picked, and that creates a transition between those two. And it's up to you how far you want it to go. It could be this one, but it usually goes dark to light. So see, dark, light, lighter, light, white. Looks like there's some on the nose as well, some on the lip. Add a bit right here. Teensy bit right here. Some on the shirt. You see how this right here at the bottom pops? That's why ambient occlusion is such a strong tool. They use it in such small amounts. In comparison to the rest of the painting, it really pops. some by the nose, on the edge of the nose. Just highlight right here. I like drawing the highlight. It's this little dot always. I think we can add a transition value. So let's go in the middle. Take a medium. 3%. Oh, that one matches the value we used earlier. Let's smooth that out a little bit. Nice. Alright. Now let's finally get to the main course, which is the eye. Shouldn't be that bad, because we have basically completed everything around it to a decent point. I made sure the proportions were right earlier, and I guess they look alright to me. I'll carve out a little bit. So the eye is mostly black, so that's perfect for us. So we don't have to do too much. Let's go with a medium dark gray. I say the value of the pupil is around the same as the value laying outside of it. Let's try and match that shape. It's a bit of a weird shape. It's like upside down. It's like a snail. I'll add a bit of a dark right here. Make it look like there's a transition. And then the eyes. Make sure the whites of the eyes are drawn as well. I don't know if this value is right. Let's take a step back. It looks like there's a... I think it's the value of the face right here. This one. That's the color of the whites of the eye. Maybe a little bit later. Okay, we're almost there. Take it a little bit darker. Teensy bit of some highlighted areas. And my favorite part is always adding the highlight, little dot. Boop. There we go. So now it looks pretty good. Looks like a person. Let's go in and do it on the other side as well. The other side is mostly in shadow, so we don't have to do too much. I think the value of this, the whites of the eye on this side, are the same value as the one on the edge. So let's take that, the color picker. Alrighty. Let's see how it looks. Gotta fix this a little bit as well. Alright. Let's put that last highlight in and we are good to go. Alright. I consider this pretty much finished. If I look at it more I'll probably render it for like hours on end, but I'll call it quits right here. See, I can't even help it. I can't even close it yet. Just mark this down a bit. Bam, bam. This wasn't perfect, but this is still good practice. And we came out with somewhat of a semi-finished painting. I hope you guys found this useful, and I'll see how you guys receive this video. If you guys like stuff like this, I might do more. If you guys don't, I'll try something else. I really hope this helped at least one person. Right. That's all I have for today. Keep drawing. Have a good day. You guys have a good one.